Hey, thank you so much and welcome to the Tailgate Show. We're so glad you sticked around. You're going to love what we're about to talk about. Dima is such a great speaker, but she's also a great writer. But here's the really cool thing about her. The story she's about to tell you, you're going to go, is that made up for TV movie? No, it actually happened and you lived through it. And I know when you told me, I was moved almost to tears because, I just couldn't imagine the things that you went through, and just to see you sitting before me and now strong and empowered, just really, made me feel really good. So tell me how you got from, that you challenging point in your life to where you are now.
Okay, well, I'll take you a step before that.
Okay.
So my story is, the book is called Breaking Vases, and it's based on a story that happened with my grandmother in Jordan, in Amman, the capital, and that is in the Middle East. So we were playing in her kitchen and arranging flowers, and she was always such a fun woman, but not that day. So she held a glass vase, and she said, "Do you see this perfect glass vase? A girl is just like it. If it gets cracked for any reason, you can never fix it, you can never glue it. That's the one we throw in the trash." So, horrible. I know.
I know.
So imagine like a 5-year-old. But for her, in her perspective, she thought that she was preparing me. What she was really doing is teaching me very early on in my life that I need to be perfect. I need to follow, I need to obey, and I cannot do any mistakes because mistakes would appear like cracks in my vase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's what the perfect glass vase is all about. Which means I cannot be courageous, I cannot have an identity, I cannot make any mistakes. I have to always be this perfect person. Otherwise, I will be thrown in the trash and not be accepted by my family. So,
wow, that's a lot for a 5-year-old.
I know. So I lived all my life. I didn't know any better because everybody around me were acting like a perfect glass vase. My grandmother, my mother, my aunts, everybody. And I just followed and obeyed. I didn't know there was another option. So when I was 19, I got engaged through a family introduction in a traditional way. And
meaning it was arranged?
So arranged marriage means that you're in a way forced to marry that person. In my situation, if I said no, I would not have married him. But it was arranged through a family. So I could have said yes or no, and I said yes because it was a perfect opportunity for me for a new world.
And how old were you then?
I was. We got engaged when I was 19.
Okay.
And his mom arranged the introduction. Apparently, she met me when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
When I was coming from school, and she thought I would be perfect for her son. So we got, and he is a very charming man, like very charming, tall, Arabian colors, beautiful. And I to me, I was like, wow, that is just so, like, I didn't have any experience. I was like, oh. So we got married when I was 20, and we moved to San Diego. He's a jeweler, and he wanted to start a business in San Diego. So, and that's when things started changing. It took me a few years where I started observing the American culture. I started watching people, how they have dreams and goals, and they speak, they have a voice, they have an identity, and I didn't have any of that. So then the more I was just looking at people, the more I would look at people, I started questioning my own identity, the stories I was told about who I am, and who I was, and how I should be acting, and it really challenged everything. It just didn't make sense. I believe if we got married and I stayed in Jordan, I would not have went through this, shock. And it wasn't just cultural; it was internal shock.
Right.
So then I started questioning. I started wanting to have an identity and dreams and all of this, and there was like a major clash because I was not allowed to have that. So that really hurt the marriage. But I stayed. I accepted things because I was barely making enough to even survive. But my intuition all over again, my intuition just kept telling me to leave. And I knew I couldn't stay, and I knew I couldn't leave. I couldn't stay because I would continue to lose myself. And I was at that time 24, and I felt I had no hope.
Young.
Yeah, no hope, no purpose, I just felt my life was over, and it was so horrible. I got into such a deep depression where I couldn't even leave my bed. I would just be staring at the ceiling all the time, and it was just so bad. But I couldn't leave because if I left, that would mean that I cracked the vase, and that would result in a lot of shame to my family, to my community, and I would be thrown away in the trash.
Isn't it something how, when we're little kids, the things that we're taught or, that's told to us, we, never forget them and they follow us, be it bad or good, when we're older and, it kind of transforms and forms who we are.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what it did for you. I mean, you were this, little girl who grew up to be this beautiful young woman who, got into this marriage. And you said earlier, you had no voice, no identity of your own. I mean, how did you get past that?
So it really, the depression.
Mm-hmm.
So when I realized that I was just 24 and I was in such a deep depression, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. And it wasn't even accepted for me to be in depression. I have to be happy all the time so people around me would accept me. And my depression and my intuition were just kept telling me, I should not stay. And even though I was so afraid, I got to a point one day I just packed and I left.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I could not stay. And I went to bed knowing that I cracked the vase. And there were horrible consequences. So it's not just, you're courageous and you take action and you move on. There are consequences. And part of the consequences that my entire community, other than just few people, stopped talking to me, so they disowned me. And my father decided to kill me for a simple thing.
Whoa, wait. You kind of stayed
like just
like
that, like,
by the way, my father tried to kill me. That's not cool and that's not normal. Why?
Well, it's a Middle Eastern thing where they if a woman does something that's not accepted by the father or the family, they have something called honor killing. And by killing her, they feel that they're bringing honor back to the family. And in my situation...
Are you serious?
Yeah. Google it.
I'm scared too.
Yeah, so I had to deal with that. Mm-hmm. And I still deal with that. It's been 16 years. Mm-hmm. But I learned that even though it's such a horrible consequence and I have to be aware all the time, it really gave me the fuel to live. Mm-hmm. It gave me the fuel to learn. It gave me the desire to discover who I am, because I know, like, everybody wants a father and
mm-hmm.
yes,
the
daddy.
love of a father, right?
Yeah, we all need that. But in my situation, that really stood in my way, and I had to lose myself to satisfy him, and I didn't want that. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just like a one-time thing. There were issues growing up as well with him that I talk about in the book. Mm-hmm. But I have, like, people say, wow, you're just so courageous. I see it that I need to survive.
Right.
And this desire to survive made me do things that otherwise I would be terrified of doing.
Doubt.
Made me complete my education, made me work for big global companies, and anytime I'm just so scared, I would cry, but then I would move on and take action.
So you took your fear and made it into being fearless. I mean, you've accomplished a lot, and like I said, that's not normal at all. That's the first time I've ever heard of honor killing, and I'm sure that's the first time maybe most of you have. I mean, that's not cool, like I said earlier, but you fought through it, and you now are doing amazing work. I mean, what's your relationship now with your parents?
My father is still nothing. And the only reason I'm alive, God bless America, is because I'm here and he's in Jordan. He doesn't speak English and he wouldn't be able to figure out things here. I don't go to Jordan. I haven't been to Jordan since the story. So now it's been 17 years, not 16, 17. And my mom, well, that's part of the story. My mom had a lot of issues as a result of me, that we had to have her escape from Jordan and my sister. It's like a messy story. But the good news, it has a happy ending.
Yes.
We are safe. We are good. My mom started a daycare, so she has her business.
Very cool.
I started my business. And it just gave us, all of us, the motivation to move on.
Well, let me ask you this, speaking of moving on, when did you move on from knowing that, you know what, I'm not cracked? When did you move on from that?
It was the TEDx. Can you imagine?
No.
That was just 4 years ago. Yeah, can you imagine? Like, all my life, even though I was successful, I was doing great work around the world with IBM, managing teams and making great income and having wonderful benefits, but I always saw myself as cracked because of the story. But then after I gave the TEDx and I heard and I saw the reaction of people, I'm like, oh, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
people have similar issues. Maybe I am not cracked. And that was the first time I realized that the beauty is in our cracks.
That's good.
In the
That's
past,
good.
I used to think that a crack and that I left a marriage and I, in a way, disowned my father. Not dishonored, like brought shame to him. I always thought that that's such a horrible thing of me. But then I realized, no, that is the crack that made me who I am right now. That's helping me connect with people. How can I understand people's pain if I don't have my own pain?
Yeah, because when you think about crack, you think about pain the way I do. I think, when somebody says, I feel crack or I feel broken, it's like they feel a pain within. But so you lived with that pain, up until 4 years, ago.
Yeah.
How, I'll ask you again, how'd you overcome it? I know you said by the people and the way they reacted to you, but internally, there still had to be some stuff, you had to do inside to just...
Oh, okay, so you want the full story? So here's what happened. It's interesting, and that's why I say there's a divine purpose behind all of this.
Come on.
So in 2008, I got this swine flu. It's a funny story now, funny, but not at that time. And I couldn't work for a month and a half. I was very, very sick. So I was laying down in bed. My mom and sister in San Diego. I was in North Carolina, and I wouldn't let my friends come to my home because I didn't want to be contagious to them. I ended at the end in the hospital, but it was the best thing ever because it in a way crippled me from thinking and moving and being so busy all the time to distract myself. I had to stop for a month and a half, and that's when I started questioning myself, like, what do I want in my life, and is this really what I want? Because I was escaping from my pain by working a lot. And that's when I started going through a healing journey.
That's good.
Exploring everything possible. And the interesting thing, now it's funny, but it's interesting. One time I was working on my computer and I hurt my neck. So I went to a chiropractor, and after he adjusted my neck, he looked me in the eye like this. And he said, I see you have some forgiveness to do. The guy doesn't know anything about me, doesn't know my story. It was the first time I ever been to a chiropractor. So, of course, God put that person in my path, which meant I had to forgive, but start by forgiving myself.
That's
and
good.
then forgive my dad, forgive my ex-husband, forgive all of these people that really hurt me so deep. And that's a journey that allowed me to open, I call it the big black box, like just you put everything in it and you just close it.
Put it under the bed somewhere.
Once in a while it opens and the mess comes out and you're like, close it again. I had to open it and I had to clean it up.
Yeah.
And it was not fun at all. I had to hire a lot of coaches. I had to hire a lot of healers. I had to do all kinds of stuff to clean it up. And I think that's what got me to a place where I could give the talk.
Right.
And that's why I could be able to write this book. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
Well, we're going to talk about this book, and you really would want to get a copy of this, and we're going to tell you how you can get a copy of it, in the next segment. But we're going to talk some more to Dima, so don't go anywhere. This is good stuff. We'll be right back.